Good afternoon and welcome to the Cabinet meeting on, I had to think then, the 9th of January. So, good afternoon. We are not expecting any fire alarm testing today. And in the event of an evacuation, you will hear a recorded message requesting you to vacate the building. Please leave by the nearest exit and the Riviera Centre will assist you with this. Once outside, please assemble in front of the tennis courts to the seaward side of the building. And if I could ask if you could please ensure that all mobile phones and electronic devices are turned to silent. It's always a good time to check. As this is a hybrid meeting, I'll hand over to our clerk who will run through how we will run it. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Please note that we are operating hybrid meeting arrangements with officers and councillors who are not members of the Cabinet having the option to join the meeting via Zoom. We are also live streaming this meeting via the Council's YouTube channel to encourage more people to engage in our public meetings. The proceedings of the meeting will also be recorded. Please can I remind everyone to use their microphones when speaking and turn them off when finished. Please can attendees present in person refrain from watching the live stream or joining the Zoom link as this will cause interference for our viewers. Any members or officers attending the meeting remotely must use their raise hand function when they wish to speak and to declare any interest at the appropriate time. If anyone attending the meeting remotely loses connection, the meeting will continue and you'll have the option to follow the meeting via the YouTube live stream. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much indeed. Let's start off with item 1, which is apologies.
Chairman, I'm not aware of any.
Thank you very much indeed. Item 2, minutes to confirm as a correct record the minutes of the Cabinet meeting on the 5th of December of last year. I'm happy to move that from the Chair. Do I have a seconder?
Happy to second, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much indeed. All those in favour, please show.
Unanimous, Chair.
Thank you. Move on to disclosure of interests for any member of the Cabinet or officer to declare a pecuniary or non-pecuniary interest in any item in respect of items on this agenda. Thank you, and none declared. I can confirm we have no urgent items to deal with this evening, and therefore we will move straight on to item 6, which is the Revenue and Capital Budget 24-25. And of course this is the decision to actually launch for consultation the budget. Councillor Tyerman.
Thank you. I think in some ways, in all the years in which I've been a councillor, this has been one of the least painful budget processes. The first time in my memory that we haven't had to look at making substantial levels of savings in order to create a balanced budget. It may in some ways have been easy, but I'm sure for our finance director, being the first budget he's done for Torbay Council, it's probably been anything but easy. Certainly getting used to the way we do budgets in Torbay and grappling with a lot of information and a lot of lack of knowledge and history makes that more difficult. But we're pleased, therefore, to have got to a position where we can put out our budget proposals for consultation. In doing that, and being aware of the difficulties that many other councils are reported to have in making ends meet, I think we're in a good position. Having said that, it's given us the opportunity to look forward, not just for 1 year, look forward to a position where we know that we have to renegotiate the adult social care contract for the year after next, and that will, we suspect, lead to a more difficult budget situation in the year after next, and that's therefore part of what we've done in this budget is to look forward and to look at potential cost savings that you will see in there that will be needed to be brought into place for the year after next. it's nice to have been able to take that look forward and yet to be able to come up with a budget for the coming year that is close to being balanced. You will see, colleagues, that there is still a small gap to be found for next year, but we are confident there are many ways of closing that gap during the consultation period and during finalisation of various figures to do with our income, with the final workings through the settlement, etc. So basically, we have the document in front of us. We're not intending to discuss that today in any detail. It's going out to consultation. We look forward to our discussions with our priority resources panel in 3 weeks' time, seeing what they can contribute, and certainly it would be very useful to get the views not only in terms of what they can contribute to this budget, but to the forward looking at the savings for the year after. I think that will be most helpful for officers as well to be able to have that longer term view. So often in the past it's been a real struggle to come up with savings and then find ways of getting them implemented, and so often they've not been in place for the whole of the financial year. We have the ability to break the mould, as it were, on that. So the recommendations we have before us are the budget proposals for 2024-25 are launched for consultation, running until midnight on the 7th of February, and that the Overview and Scrutiny Board be asked to provide feedback as part of that consultation. That the Chief Finance Officer be given authority to amend budget proposals for any technical adjustments necessary between services and within the overall envelope of funding in agreement with the Leader of the Council, and that the Chief Finance Officer report to the next Cabinet meeting, the meeting of the 13th of February 2024, on the implications for 2024-25 as a result of these proposals currently being considered and the consultation results. I'm happy. That's my proposal.
Thank you very much indeed, Councillor. Thank you. I'm happy to second this from the Chair. At the moment, around the whole of country in local authorities having to talk about bankruptcy and something called Section 114. And if you're not from a local government family, that basically is local government code for bankruptcy. Thankfully, the council, Torbay Council, is not in that situation. And that is in no part due to some of the many difficult decisions that have been taken over the past decade or so. Delighted that in a moment we will be putting out the document for consultation. I would absolutely encourage all of our residents to get involved and to have a little look and see what it is we are doing. Some of the headlines include us putting an additional £2 million into children, £1 million into adult social care, £1 million extra into temporary accommodation. We're also looking to introduce 2 new flagship projects, Operation Brighter Bay and Operation Town Centres. You'll find all of those in the budget papers, either online or in the paper documents. Can I also, anybody either in the room or watching us in the virtual world, to just ask you to pop a date in your diary. It is Saturday, the 27th of January, when the Cabinet and members of the Council will be involved in a residents' engagement event. My apologies, that's your time, Councillor, not mine. We'll be involved in a residents' engagement event in St Mary Church. So if you are free and you'd like to come and talk to us and have your say on the consultation on the budget. It's St Mary Church precinct on the 27th of January. At that stage, I will be happy to stop, having formally seconded the document, and I will actually move out. I'm not intending to take any questions or any debate on this item this evening. It is purely and simply to launch the consultation, which runs, as Councillor Timon says, until the 7th of February. So, all those in favour, please indicate.
Unanimous, Chair.
Thank you very much indeed. We shall move on to item 8. My apologies, try 7. It comes after 6. Item 7, the Torbay and Devon Safeguarding Adult Partnership Annual Report 22-23. Councillor Tranter.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay? I'd like to present the Adult Safeguarding Annual Report. A little bit of background is that Section 43 of the Care Act 2014 places a legal duty on local authorities to establish a Safeguarding Adults Board, or a SAB, in its area. The objective of the SAB is to help and protect adults in its area where there is reasonable cause to believe the adult has care and support needs and is at risk of experiencing abuse or neglect or unable to protect themselves. The Care Act statutory guidance requires the SAB to publish an annual report detailing what they've done during the year to achieve its main objective and implement its strategic plan, and what each member has done to implement the strategy, as well as detailing the findings, any safeguarding adult reviews and subsequent action. Locally, the Torbay and South Devon Adult Partnership, was TDSAP, was formed in December 2020 and meets the requirements of the Care Act and statutory guidance. The partnership covers the geographical boundaries of Torbay Council and Devon County Council. This is the annual report, which you can see in your agenda pack. The key messages from the report were that you will see in the report that the safeguarding concerns are increasing. There are initial contacts. These are initial contacts and don't always need a referral to the safeguarding team. Section 42, the safeguarding inquiries, are what happens when a concern meets the threshold for further investigation. There is also an upward trend for this activity. In 22-23, the Torbay and South Devon Safeguarding Adult Partnership completed 3 safeguarding adult reviews, 2 of which were published on the TDSAP website. Regarding the third, a decision was made by the board not to publish due to the sensitive nature of its content. This report is for noting TDSAP annual report was presented to the Health and Wellbeing Board for information following formal sign-off by the partnership. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tranter. Likewise, I'm also happy to second this one from the Chair. This is really a report that has already been to the Health and Wellbeing Board. We had a good conversation about it. It is at its final part, and that's with ourselves effectively publishing the annual report. I want to thank everybody, all of our partners, that are far too many to name individually, but it is a partnership piece of work. I think it is worth saying a special thanks to Paul Northcott, who is our independent chair, who's done a fantastic job in the last year and helped to pull all of the partners together. So it's a great report. It's a good read. I can thoroughly recommend it to anybody. It will be available online, as I say, and I'm more than happy that we should move on to the final part of this document and finally get this document published. It was, as I say, been to the Health and Wellbeing Board and approved by the Health and Wellbeing Board to come here to Cabinet. There were no issues at that meeting. Thank you very much. Do we have any questions, any debate from Cabinet members at this point? Okay, in which case I shall move out to the wider room. Do we have anybody either in the physical room or in the virtual room who have any questions? I'm seeing no hands in the virtual nor in the physical, so in which case we shall come back to Councillor Chanter to sum up.
Thank you. I just wanted to also add that with some of the increasing trends of the safeguarding concerns, that is now flattening. So, yeah, that it's not an ongoing issue. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. So all those in favour, please indicate.
Unanimous, Chair.
Thank you very much indeed. We shall now move on to item 7. I was a little premature. I was keen to get there, Councillor Bye. Absolutely. So Torbay safeguarding. Oh, we've done 7. We're at 8. Really, I learned to need to count, don't I? Item 8. Torbay Safeguarding Children's Partnership Annual Report 22-23. Thank you, Councillor Bye.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item 8 indeed. And like the previous item, this went to the Health and Wellbeing Board for consideration and approval in December. And it was approved at that meeting. So the recommendation is that this body, that members note and endorse the contents of the Torbay Safeguarding Children Partnership Annual Report 2022-2023 as set out in Appendix 1 to the submitted report. And I'd like to express my thanks and appreciation for the authors, the work of the authors of the report, and the work of all those whose job it is to ensure that children and young people in Torbay are safe. This is a partnership of basically 3 organisations, the council working with the police and with the health sector, in this instance the Integrated Care Board. It's a relatively new way of working, and the legislative background for this work is explained in the report. It is in relatively recent times, since September 2020, that we have established our own partnership. Initially we were working with Plymouth, and then prior to that it was rather different arrangements. So it is relatively recent work. There are 4 priorities identified in this report for the current period. 1 is to reduce child neglect. Number 2, second priority, to prevent child exploitation and to ensure children are safe from sexual harm. Thirdly, to prevent harm that arises from the effects of domestic violence. And the 4th priority, the most recent priority, and there's an honesty in the report about further work that needs to be done, is to ensure that children receive appropriate mental health support. So there's significant work to be done in that area, as I think all members are aware. There are certain financial aspects to the work of the partnership that are referred to within the report, to seek the resolution of the partnerships, the various partnerships, or members of the partnerships' contributions, hoping that is resolved at a chief executive level. The governance and structures for the partnership are outlined within the report with a very useful diagram. There's very useful information on the demography of the Bay and particular challenges that we're all aware of within the Bay. The work of this partnership is under the scrutiny of our independent scrutineer, Keith Perkins, and he has a few paragraphs to outline and explain his work. So I very much hope that members will support this report. It's already been to the Health and Wellbeing Board, and I'd like to say once again thank you to those colleagues who are involved. For any questions, I'll be very pleased to receive those questions with the assistance of our Director of Children's Services sat by me, who hopefully will assist me in furnishing the answers to any questions that members may wish to ask this afternoon. So thank you so much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you indeed, Councillor Bye. Councillor Lewis, I understand you wish to second.
Yeah, very happy to second. Councillor Byer, as always, has summed up very well the report. Very good report, and a very important report. The safeguarding of our children, as always, is uppermost in our minds on Torbay Council. So very happy to second this report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Any questions from around the Cabinet table? No? Any questions from the virtual room or from within the physical room? No hands indicated. I would like to say that this report, as you're well aware, did come to the Health and Wellbeing Board. Thank you for that, and had a very positive response at that meeting, and I'm sure it'll also receive a very positive response in just a moment when we go to the vote. So all those in favour, please indicate.
Unanimous, Chair.
Thank you very much indeed. We move on to item 9, which is the Annual Public Health Report 2023. Councillor Tranter.
Thank you. So with regards to the Annual Public Health Report 2023, the Director of Public Health has a statutory duty to produce a yearly report on the health of the people in their local authority area. The Council has a duty to publish this report. The annual report of the Director of Public Services, Public Health, provides an opportunity to put a spotlight on an issue and makes recommendations to the Council and our partners on actions to be taken to improve the situation. These reports complement the insights provided by our joint strategic needs assessment and support our health goals as set out in our health and wellbeing strategy. For example, recent reports have focused on physical activity, mental health and alcohol. This year, Dr. Sargent has highlighted heart disease, which remains a leading cause of differential health experience in our residents in Torbay. In Torbay, 1 in 4 deaths of people aged 50 to 74 are from cardiovascular disease, and there is a 6-fold difference between our most and least deprived areas. This report describes the actions we need to take to prevent heart disease and to detect it early and optimise treatment for those who already have it. As Dr. Sargent stated in his report, given that we know how to prevent, diagnose and treat heart disease since the 1960s, why does it still persist as a cause of premature death and disability in so many in our community? We know behavioural and environmental factors can cause heart disease, but we often overlook the social context of these factors. Dr. Sargent's recommendations provide community and individual actions to help us all tackle heart disease. Dr. Sargent recognises all aspects of prevention in his report, from the link between adverse childhood experiences and future health, multi-agency weight action plans, peer support, community groups, constant and coordinated campaigns, to name just a few of the recommendations. So with this, it is my absolute pleasure to recommend and commend the report to Cabinet and to ask us to endorse the recommendations which build on the excellent work we are already doing in the Council and with our partners to reduce the impact of health disease in our local communities. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. And it falls to myself to second this annual public health report. And I think what is, innovative about the public health report is, that it is down to Lincoln to actually, he can write a report on performance, but he has chosen to write a report on a different aspect of public health of our population for a number of years. And rather than myself try to summarise your report, sir, I'm actually going to take the opportunity to invite you to say a few words on your own report this evening. Thank you very much indeed. But I will second it for the record.
Thanks, Councillor Thomas. It would have been nice to quiz you on your knowledge, having read the report, I'm sure. But it's one of my privileges to be able to put the spotlight on an area and to work with lots of partners in looking at an area where, if we make some key changes, can have positive impacts for our residents and reduce some of the burden of ill health. So why cardiovascular disease? As Councillor Tranter said, essentially this is the second largest cause of premature deaths, deaths under 75, a key contributor to our burden of disabilities. And as you know, Torbay has a relatively higher proportion of our working age population who have some level of disability, and that has knock-ons in terms of our economy, in terms of our older population, the age where we need people to be caring for our young people and our older people. A significant proportion themselves are dealing with disabilities. And as you all know, a heart attack at 55 is very different to a heart attack at 75. So even if you can delay those events, you know, it makes a huge difference. The other thing that focused my attention on this area is that this was one of the early wins in public health in terms of understanding the causes, understanding the policy changes that need to be made, and being able to track over time that developed countries, when they put into place comprehensive prevention, detection, optimization programs, that we were able to show a decrease in death rates. And because cardiovascular disease death rates were by and far the greatest cause of death, you saw overall death rates plummet as a result. What I think is worrying is that we forget, and I guess each generation forgets the basics. And so I just want to take a few minutes to remind us around the behaviors that link to heart disease. If you smoke, stop. If you drink, reduce, drink in moderation. Physical activity is important, at least 20 minutes per day as a minimum. Your diet is important for cardiovascular disease. Low salt, reducing processed meats, red meats in particular, more fruits and vegetables in the diet. If you're overweight, reducing, and you don't have to reduce dramatically, 5 to 10% of body weight, and maintain that will give really tangible benefits in terms of heart disease risk. Important for us to work with our GPs to pick up heart disease risk factors early, such as high blood pressure, cholesterol, early detection of diabetes, for example. So we've known a lot of this for quite some time. But I think what has happened is we've probably become tired of saying these things because to some extent they're so obvious. And I think a generation is coming up that doesn't clock on that if you smoke, there is a good chance you will die from a smoke-related cause. Yeah? And we don't say that enough. Yeah, for a variety of reasons. I'm struck in this report that sometimes those messages don't necessarily come best from the Director of Public Health. They come best from local communities who own these messages and who reinforce those messages. And I say to people, there are times I try not to feel personally slighted when I see somebody smoking. I try not to take it personally. But I was walking today, and there was a mother and her young son, and she was smoking. And I just thought, what that does for that young person is that it normalizes this, yeah, at an age where they're not going to be thinking about health effects. It's likely that that peer group, he will start smoking at some point in his mid-teens, and it will not be something that he thinks about consciously until at some point he tries to stop and finds it's not that easy because he's addicted. Yeah? And that's the cycle we get into. So there's something about how do we land those messages that it is not just somebody wagging a finger and saying, don't do this, don't do that, but actually communities beginning to understand healthy behaviors, and particularly those things that don't cost us. And a healthy diet, I know in a cost of living setting can be challenging, but things like physical activity in the Bay, you know, we certainly can do a lot. Torbay on the Move is our strategic approach to that. Stop smoking, is again something that we can do. You don't need lots of money to be able to do those things. So I think the recommendations are about how can we galvanize some of that interest, some of that community approach to getting and landing some of these messages in new and fresh and innovative ways, and eventually reduce some of the burden that heart disease causes.
Thank you very much indeed. Do we have any questions around the Cabinet table? No questions. Any questions from in the virtual room or in the physical room? No? Okay, thank you very much. Lincoln, thank you very much indeed for that. I would also say that the whole report is online, but instead of it just being a report that's just full of pages of text, it is very, very easy to navigate on the Council's website. So if you simply just search for Torbay Annual Public Health Report 2023, it's all in bite-sized chunks. And if I was about to be quizzed, I thought I might have a quiz on the risk rainbow, but we'll hold it there. At least I did read it twice, actually. But okay, so we shall move to the vote. All those in favour, please indicate.
Unanimous, Chair.
Thank you very much indeed. Hopefully we're on the right number now, number 10, which is the report of the Adult Social Care Health Overview and Scrutiny Board. This is, the board did a spotlight review on homelessness, and there is a revised response that was circulated this afternoon from the Cabinet. Councillor Tranter.
Thank you. The spotlight review on homelessness in Torbay took place in October last year. The key aims and objectives of the review were to better understand how homelessness could be prevented in Torbay, how people could be helped, how people were assisted into accommodation, and how people were supported when in accommodation, to identify whether existing pathways and systems in place to prevent homelessness could be improved in Torbay, and how to identify and target specific areas for more detailed scrutiny investigation. The review gave many recommendations. You have them all in front of you for the example, so I won't read all the recommendations. A few examples are that we engage more with those using our services, put into place what evidence shows we need, replicate good working practices where possible and when needed, keep doing what is working well, keep working closely with our voluntary sector and signposting residents to the relevant support. We should also publicise more about the positive work that Leonard Stocks undertakes in supporting those with housing needs. As Cabinet, we thought that the published review document was a little light and lacking some detail, hence the changes made to the report this afternoon. You're probably all aware of the details from the review anyway, so there's no surprises, and we already had extensive minutes. We wanted to allow maximum transparency on how we intend to respond to the review's recommendations, and it's always best to get this right as soon as possible, so a few changes were required. I'd like to draw attention briefly to the great work that is going on in Torbay that already supports the homeless in numerous ways. I would have liked to have seen more of our voluntary sector organisations mentioned and how closely we continue to work together. For example, in 2014, Unleash Community Drama launched a theatre group at the Lyceum Theatre specifically for people who were either homeless or on the 12-step programme. This group still meets every week, 51 weeks of the year, and has grown into an inspirational community of actors all on a journey of recovery together. They now also have the Unleash Community Choir for this very same community. The Homelessness Spotlight Review suggests that we publicise the great work of Leonard Stocks, and I completely agree with this. But we need to remember all the positive work and voluntary work going on in Torbay to support our homeless community. I hope any future reviews will bring these groups and individuals into the discussion so that we can shout proudly about all the great positive life-changing work that goes on every single day in Torbay. So I hope tonight that everyone will support Cabinet So I hope tonight you will support all Cabinet recommendations that came from this review. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Councillor Tranter. Second, I think, is Councillor Tyerman.
Yes, I'm very happy to second this report. May I add my thanks to the people that contributed, took part in the report, and to the recommendations and suggestions they made. They seem to me to be a mixture of helpful, constructive recommendations, sometimes recognising what was already happening that was good, and really have contributed well to the thinking that's gone on since. I think it's also worth saying that there's a whole bundle of activities going on across the council to deal with this and deal with different aspects of homelessness. And I think that we should give thanks to all members of staff that contribute to what I think has been an effective level of work over the last few years in establishing and the structures that we already have in place. I think none of us would say that that's a finished article, and these suggestions are going some way to help refine and improve what we're already doing. But I wouldn't like anyone to think that the effort that's been going on in the past and the successes of that in any way should be made little of. I think we've been very successful as a council up to now. There are one or two aspects in here that come down to my portfolio in terms of housing. I'm happy to let my colleagues know that in discussions I had today with our new our new head of strategic housing and delivery, and with our director of Pride and Place, and with group leaders, that we have, I think, got now a date for our first meeting to action the decision that was taken in council in December to look at accelerating affordable housing. So that is moving on even as we talk now. I think that, you know, anything we do on affordable housing always is a longish term aspect before you actually see the benefits. But we need to put the building blocks in place now to have better solutions available to us in a year, 2 years' time, and in the future. So yes, I'm very happy to second this. Thank you very much.
Thank you indeed. Any questions or any debate from around the Cabinet table? Thank you. Councillor Bye.
Can I just say a few words, Mr. Chairman? I think there's 3 points I just want to highlight. Number one is I'm delighted that the report from the Overview and Scrutiny Spotlight Review and our response highlights the good work in a very positive way of the Leonard Stocks Centre. Leonard Stocks has taken a few knocks, and there have been comments in the media in recent times, but I think taking it back in-house, the council now operating that centre and with proper support and ensuring that people who stay there for a shorter length of time. The purpose always was to provide temporary accommodation for people and then to support them to move on into more permanent homes. I think the positive comments in the Overview and Scrutiny report and our response to those, I think we should highlight that. I think, you know, Leonard Stocks is a force for good in the town and in the Bay and fulfills a very necessary role. Absolutely want to endorse what Councillor Tranter has just said about the amazing work that the voluntary and community sector, lots of our churches and church-based organisations in the Bay are doing with people who are homeless, whose lives, like anyone's lives, can just take a modest turn for the wrong. So we all went, or a lot of us went, to watch the film at the Lyceum Theatre, 3 Steps, that we are all just 3 steps away potentially from homelessness. I had the privilege of going along just before Christmas to see their production of The Lady in the Van. Again, you've got people there working in a voluntary way to help people turn their lives around and highlighting the issue of homelessness. So I think the voluntary and community sector deserve our recognition and applause for all the work that they do. And then the third thing is you're not going to solve the homelessness problem in the Bay without building more homes, particularly social rented housing and affordable rented housing. I only hear good reports about our new housing delivery officer. Everyone seems to be full of praise for his good work. So I'm delighted it is this administration that has appointed a housing delivery officer and already seeing progress made, and that is confirmed here in our response to point 13. So very good report from Overview and Scrutiny, and very strong responses that we've looked at in detail this afternoon that I hope members will now endorse and support. We must do more to tackle homelessness in Torbay. That's the council working with partners and absolutely the voluntary and community sector. So thank you for allowing me to say those few words.
Thank you, Councillor Boy. Move to our virtual room and the physical room, just to make sure, have we got any questions in either the virtual room or the physical room? That is negative. So we shall move to the vote then, please. All those in favour, please indicate.
Unanimous, Chair.
Thank you very much indeed. And that concludes this evening's Cabinet meeting at 11 minutes past 6. Thank you very much indeed. Have a pleasant evening.